Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua. All glory and honor to Yahweh in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shah. Fishman Kazaya, I'm back with another video through the spirit and the power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah. Don't count this is a light thing to do. All glory and honor to the Most High Yahweh in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shah. Peace and blessings to each and every one that's keeping the Sabbath to the best of their ability. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Peace and blessings to each and every one, Lord willing, you're enduring, forsaking the flesh and the cares of this world to the best of your ability. Trying to get things situated real quick. Now, I believe I titled this, Through the Spirit and the Power of Yahweh Shah, End Time Warnings, Hated by All Nations, plus Laws, Commandments. Through the Spirit and the Power of Yahweh Shah, we're going to open up with a quick precept. Not going to try to talk too much around the topic. Going to try to get straight to it. Nevertheless, after this, walking up the camp through the spirit of the power of Yahweh Shah. So I'm going to open up with this quick precept real quick. Peace and blessings to each and every one, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that are scattered abroad in all regions, in all countries, and all states that are on the face of the earth enduring in these last days. Peace and blessings to each and every one. We're going to open up with a quick precept. This is Psalms chapter 1, Psalms 122, and I'm going to start at verse 1. Peace and blessing to each and every one. Shabbat Shalom. All praises, glory, honor to Yahweh in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shah. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shah. This is Psalms 122, verse 1, and it reads, I was glad when they said it to me, let us go into the house of the Lord Yahweh. So we glad that it's the Sabbath. We glad that we get to have our mind off of bills and stress and cleaning and cooking and working and laboring and dealing with all of these spirits in the land of the living that we have to deal with as descendants of Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham. We glad that we can continue to get into the scriptures and meditate and continue to wait patiently for the second return of our Lord and Savior, the anointed, the Messiah. We glad that we have the law, statutes, commandments. We glad that the Lord has made a covenant with our forefathers. We glad that we can continue to come out on the highways and byways and teach. We glad that the Lord has assisted us. You know, we glad that we can continue to strive and endure and forsake the flesh and the cares of this world. You know, a lot of people, they glad that they about to go to the mall, that they about to watch some type of college sports. You know, a lot of people are glad that they can freak off and commit adultery and masturbate and watch pornography. A lot of people, they're glad that they can smoke weed, you know, that they can do abominable and wicked deeds. But the Israelites, the descendants of Jacob, Abraham, and Isaac, we're glad that we can continue to endure in these last days. You know, it's not too hard. These commandments are not grievous. We are glad that the Lord has quickened our spirit and breathed life upon us to continue to endure all things, whether it be for the elect's sake, whether it be for our wives, our children, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts, our cousins, whatever it is that we're enduring for, you know, regardless of what motivates you. We are glad that the Lord has allowed us to continue to do the work of the Most High, to continue to labor in His vineyard. We are glad that the Lord hasn't casted us away from His presence, that the Lord hasn't given us over to a reprobate mind, a vile affection. We're glad that we're not the ones that are committing all type of wickedness, causing stumbling blocks. We're glad that we can continue to keep our minds occupied in the scriptures. You know, ask yourself, what are you glad about? You know, what's helping you and sustaining you in these last days? You know, is it the cares of this world? What is helping you, allow you to make it through the next day? Because you got to ask yourself, you know, you may not have nobody around you. You may not have nobody pushing you, motivating you. But, hey, somebody else can pray for you. Somebody else can fast with you. You know, you got to stop making excuses, and you got to bring that joy of the Lord abroad into the utmost atmosphere in that reality world, you know. So, like the lesson says, end time warnings, hated by all nations. So, of course, this is an end time prophecy that the Most High, Yahweh, the anointed, allow His Son. It's like that the Most High allow His Son, the anointed, to make known to the disciples. So we're going to jump straight into it. Matthew chapter 24. Not going to be too long because we got to go to camp. Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to start at verse 9. This is the book of Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to start at verse 9. I'm going to start at verse 3, and then I'm going to go down so we can get the edification. Matthew 24 and verse 4. So like it, Matthew 24 and 3. And it reads, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? So they understood that the Lord was going to make a return after they heard and was made known that the Lord was going to be crucified and that the Lord, the anointed Christ, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, was going to be delivered up. Things that was already told of old through the prophets. So they knew that what is it that we should see? What is it that is going to be made known to us? And of the end of the world. So they knew about the end of this rulership. The Romans rulership, the Europeans rulership, the Caucasians rulership, the Greeks rulership. They knew about these things, you know. And in this chapter, it gives you a understanding of what's coming and what somewhat has already came. Like when you read verse 13, 14, 15, you know, speaks about the abomination of desolation, things that happened in 70 AD, you know. But we're going to touch on verse 9. I'm going to go down to verse 7. Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And these are things that we're witnessing on a high level every day. You've seen earthquakes. You may have been a witness to things like that on the side of California and all of these third world countries. You know, many tsunamis and things like that. You know, so the Lord said kingdom will rise against kingdom, you know. Heathens will rise against heathens. Nations will, the other nations beside the descendants of Jacob, you know, the 12 tribes, they're going to rise against each other, you know. And pestilences are going to be on the up front, you know. People are going to be getting sick. Diseases are going to be running rampant. People are going to be dropping dead from illnesses and whatever, you know, flus and influenzas, vaccines and things like that going to have to be pushed out. You know, the Lord spoke about many of these things, all of these, you know, whether it be a man-made disease or whether it be, you know, some type of disease that the Lord has brought, regardless if it's a man-made, of course, the Most High has all control and all power, you know. So it says, and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Verse 8, Matthew 24, 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Verse 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So it says for the Lord's name's sake. It didn't say because you wanted to be hated of all nations. It didn't say you chose to be hated of all nations, because we know the Lord has chosen us. It's not that we asked the Lord to choose us. The Lord has chosen us. The Lord has made a covenant with us. You know, you can read about that in Deuteronomy 29 and 1, you know, as well as 2 Kings 17. The Lord has chosen the descendants of Jacob, you know, the descendants of Abraham and Isaac. He's chosen us, you know. It's not like we wanted to just willfully go through this, you know. So Matthew 24 and 9, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Now let me get this precept real quick in Matthew chapter 10. It's not just only going to be your mom and your dad, your brother and your sister, you know, because we deal with the curses regardless. You know, the Israelites deal with the curses regardless. So you already got brother hating brother. You know, the Bloods and Crips killing each other. The GDs and Vice Lords, Sir 13s killing each other. But it's going to be on another level of being hated by all nations. It's going to be Amalekites. You know, it's going to be Moabites, Ammonites, Canaanites. Everybody, is going to hate the Israelites, you know. Everybody is going to hate the Israelites. You know, now it's not on that level. You know, now you got the ability to put your fringes on, go out in the broad daylight, and nobody really say anything. You know, they might look at you, but they don't really say nothing. You know, right now you got a lot of Israelites confessing that they're Israelites. But what's going to really be going on when this is really hitting the fan? When everybody's looking for you, when you got billboards and posters and you got flyers and advertisement on social media, you know, saying, hey, Fisherman of Zion, or this camp or that camp, or this brother or that brother, or this elder or that elder, you know, how much more are you going to endure, you know? Because, hey, it ain't too much, you know, it ain't too much afflicting going on right now. You know, you don't got the cops just waiting for you to show up to camp, or some type of agent to be at your camp spot or your congregating spot, wherever you're going to keep the feast days at, or wherever you reside at, lay your head at. You know, it's going to be on a whole nother level of all nations hating the Israelites. You know, a lot of people they boldly and gladly say, "Hey, I'm an Israelite." You know, I know I'm a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But on another level, it's going to be really, you're gonna have to show your faith in these certain days that we're telling you about, and that's prophesied about. So this is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 21, and it reads, "And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the children, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death." Verse 22, "And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endured to the end shall be saved." So you're gonna be hated of all men, not just in your household, because we know that the Lord said, "A man of your own household," you know, a foe of your own household, you know, like it says in Matthew 10 and 36, "And a man's foe shall be they of his own household," you know, which is already written in Micah 7 and 6. You know, we already know that our own people gonna come against us, which they've already done that. We know that the Israelites tried to kill Jeremiah. You know, we know the Israelites wanted to kill Isaiah. We know that the Israelites wanted to kill King David, Saul, and Jeroboam. You know, and Jonathan. You know, it's like not Jeroboam, but Jonathan. You know, we know that the Israelites already are fighting against each other, one amongst another. You know, but these other nations, it's gonna be done on a higher level as well. You know. So let me get this in Isaiah real quick. And these are things that we must speak about. You know, it's always edifying to speak about, you know, a lot of other things, but it's also edifying to speak about things that need to be prophesied. Now this is Isaiah chapter 33, and I'm gonna start at verse 6, and it reads, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times." The times that we're living in now. You know, what's going to keep you stable? What's going to keep you rooted? You know, what's going to help you stay rooted and grounded in these last days? You know, is it going to be money? Is it going to be the flesh? Is it going to be women? If you're a man, or if you're a woman, is it going to be some type of man that you desire? You know, that look a certain way, that act a certain way, that has a certain amount of money, that has a certain status in this society. What's going to keep you stable in these last days? This is what's going to keep you stable. Isaiah 33 and 6, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure." So wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is going to keep you stable in these last days. It's going to help you endure, you know, because you understand that this was written for your learning, and that you know, you got to understand what's coming to the earth. You know, now let me get another precept. This is Revelation chapter 19. Book of Revelation chapter 19. And it reads, Revelation chapter 19, I'm gonna start at verse 10. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10, and it reads, "And I fell at his feet." Now this is John the Divine, as some will say, John the Revelator. You know, he understood that this angel, you know, has showed him such things, especially things that will happen in the last days. And he says, Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10, "And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, See thou do it not." So the angel told him, you know, I'm a brother just like you. Don't do that. "I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shah," who the word knows is Jesus. "Worship Most High God, for the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is the spirit of prophecy." So what does the word testimony mean? You know, now when you look up this word in Isaiah 8 and 20, as we're gonna get, Lord willing. Now this word testimony, I'm gonna get it in the Greek though. I'm gonna get this in the Greek, but I'm gonna just get the one in Isaiah. I'm gonna get this real quick. Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. So it says the testimony of the Lord. What is testimony? Now it represents things that was already pertaining and talking about things to come. Now this is Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20, and it reads, Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. It says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So this, what this is talking about is the definition. It says confirmation, prophetic, which on another level is speaking mainly on a prophet, because a prophet had already made a confirmation of something, and then when the Lord allowed his son to come on the earth to fulfill those things, that's what it was. It was just confirming what was already told of old. So Isaiah 8 and 20 again, it says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Now, going back to Revelation 19 and 10, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. John fell at the angel's feet, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushua. Worship most high God, for the testimony of Yahushua, meaning the confirmation of Yahushua, is the spirit of prophecy. So a lot of people, they believe on the Messiah, but they don't really try to gravitate towards what the prophets were saying. So when somebody say, you know, you're reading the Old Testament, you know, we're not in the Old Testament, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, they just talking out of the side of their neck. They don't have no understanding. There's no light in them, you know, because it's giving out an understanding of the law and the prophets, you know. So let me get this in 2 Peter 1 and 21 real quick. 2 Peter chapter 1. 2 Peter chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 21, and it reads, for the prophecy came not in old time. I'm going to start at verse 20. 2 Peter 1 and 20. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. So it's not just based on something that wasn't already told, you know. Somebody had already spoke about a prophetic doing that the Lord is going to do, you know. It was already spoken by either Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Haggai, Amos, Ezekiel, or it was already spoken by Moses, you know. It was already spoken of old. But check this out, verse 21. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of Most High God spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. So the Most High God allowed holy men, which means it was men that was set apart, you know, because a lot of this stuff that you're reading about or that you living out was already ordained, predestined by the Most High God. You know, it was already elected men to be prophets, righteous, mighty prophets. It was already elected, you know, of certain women to do the will of the Most High God. No ordinary, just no any woman could have gave birth to Yahushua HaMashiach, gave birth to John the Baptist, gave birth to Samson. You know, the Lord has set and reserved up certain women to do his will, as well as he reserved certain men to do his will, you know. So it was by the will, you know, of the Most High God. Now I also wanted to get let me get this precept right quick, because Paul spoke about prophecy, you know, things that was prophesied of old. Is very edifying, you know. Speaking in tongues, you know, it's beautiful, but on another level, what can edify the church? What can help the body grow? You know, what can make known to somebody things that's going to help them? You know, because when you speak in an unknown tongue, you speaking directly to the Most High God. But when you prophesy, as Paul is about to say, you know, it edifies the body, it edifies the church. Now this is 1 Corinthians chapter 14. And I'm going to start at verse 1, and it reads, follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto Most High God. For no man understandeth him, how be it in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. But he that prophesies speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. So what we're speaking about is going to help comfort those before it actually comes to pass, you know. Because if you tell somebody they're going to be hated of all nations, you know, and then it just happens right then and there, how they going to prepare for that? How they going to get their faith built up? on a level to prepare themselves for that. If it happens just right then, they hear it and then it happens right then. But the Lord, he's given us grace and mercy to understand his word and to be able to endure these things through the Spirit, through the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, through wisdom, through knowledge, through understanding, through the teachings that he will allow us to be taught of, through the truth doctrine and not some false doctrine, Now, reading this one more time, 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 3. But he that prophesied speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. Verse 4, 1 Corinthians 14 and 4. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself. So when you speak in another language, you edify yourself, edify himself. But he that prophesied edified the church. So we reading about and going into things that's going to help comfort one another, things that must come to pass, and being hated by all nations. The Lord has already went through this, So we're going to go through the same thing as Israelites and those that are drawing closer to the Lord. Like it says in James 4:8, draw nigh to the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, the Most High, the creator of the heavens and earth, Yahweh, in the name of his son, Yahweh Shah. And once we draw nigh to him, he's going to draw closer to us, keeping the commandments and the faith, So let me get this back. Let me go back to Matthew real quick. Matthew chapter 10. So we're going to go through the same thing that the Lord went through. This isn't something that we just going to be tested of. The Lord was already tested of this. The Messiah being crucified and being whipped and scourged and brought from council to council and being hated of all nations. That's what he went through as well. He had brothers that didn't believe in him. His own people didn't believe in him. Didn't believe that he was the Son of Man, that he was the chosen. And then you had the Romans, and then you had all these other nations that were speaking bad on him and want to deliver him up. Now, this is Matthew chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 25, and it reads, I'm going to start at verse 24. It says, the disciple is not above his master. Who's the disciple? If we're striving to keep the commandments and the faith, we're the disciples. We're the students, as well as the 12. Originally, before that, it was 70, then 12, by the will of the Most High. Matthew 10 to 24, the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. Because when you're a servant, you're serving others. You're doing the will, you're doing the work of the Most High. Verse 25, Matthew 10 and 25. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, so if they call, the righteous the devil, because that's another way of saying devil, Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? So how much more shall they call the Israelites devils? We're putting out hate speech. We always talking bad about somebody. We're saying the Lord doesn't love the Edomites. We're speaking directly about the scriptures. It's not something we made up. And people are speaking bad about the Israelites. So if they speak bad about Yahweh Shah, of course they're gonna speak bad about the Israelites. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that understand and come back to their heritage and the law, statutes, and commandments. So they're gonna say many things about the Israelites. They're gonna say we threaten the citizens. They're gonna say, we're the ones that are killing people, whether it be some false flag, whether they go out and allow somebody to put fringes on and just shoot up a building. They're gonna say we the ones did all these things because they like to speak bad about us, which was already done of old. So through the scriptures, we just getting comfort through the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the Most High, And regardless of whatever we go through, we got to count the cost and understand that what we're doing, just saying we're Israelite, we got to endure all of this. We can't just get feeble-kneaded and weary and well-doing when these things come to hit the fan. It can't be no, I ain't going to camp no more, because they put out a law saying if you speaking against anti-Semitic, you're going to get locked up. No, we can't be weary and well-doing. We got to continue to endure all things for the elect's sake and until the second coming of the Lord. So we got to count the cost. You know, everybody's saying they Israelites now. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork, which is already prophesied that this great awakening would take place. You know, especially when you read Ezekiel. You know, when you read Ezekiel 37, speaks about these dry bones. These bones are living, the Lord breathing and waking up the descendants of Jacob. You know, so it's easy to say you're Israelite now. It's easy to go out with fringes. You know, but what about when you're hated by all nations? When somebody looking for you, when you're on the hunt, you know, when people putting money up, saying, okay, I'll give you $20,000 to go find this congregation, to go find this camp, to go find this elder, go find this teacher. You know, I'm pretty sure he got the Bibles, pretty sure he got the breakdowns. You know, they're gonna be saying many things. You know, they're gonna be looking for us. But how much is our faith gonna be on the horizon, on the upfront, on the higher scale? You know, are we going to get weary? Are we going to tuck our fringes in? Are we going to be running? Are we going to be hiding? You know, are we going to be denouncing the Lord? You know, because it said he that endured until the end. It's not the end yet. You know, it's still a lot of prophecies that got to be played out. It's still a lot of work that we got to do. You know, this is why it's important to pray for faith and to pray for strength in these last days, and to keep our eyes and our minds and our hearts and our focus on the kingdom of heaven, and to not be strayed aside, going astray, tossed to and fro. Now this is Luke chapter 14 and verse 28, and it reads, I'm gonna start at verse 27. Luke 14 and 27. And whosoever doeth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So bearing your cross is that temptation, is that tribulation, is that affliction that the Lord is going to allow the Israelites to be able to go through. You gotta know that, and you gotta understand that it was you, it was me, it was our forefathers that broke the commandments. You know, so we're going through these things. You know, we're enduring these things. We're having to bethink ourselves in the land of our captivity, understanding that the Lord is trying and testing each and every one of us. Whomever you think is the most mightiest brother, whomever you think is the most mightiest sister, whomever you think is the most mightiest elder man, whomever you thinking is the most mightiest elder woman, everybody got to endure. You know, Jeremiah said himself that he, you know, was led away from his heritage. You know, Jeremiah himself said he lost his heritage as well. You know, wasn't Jeremiah on fire for the Lord? You know, so just because we going through this, we got to understand that, hey, it was our forefathers that forsook the covenant of the Lord, you know. So it says, Luke 14 and 27, and whatsoever, and Salaki, Luke 14 and 27, and whosoever doeth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower sitting not down first and counted the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? So you got to count the cost. You know, what is it going to cost you, you saying you an Israelite? What is it going to cost you, you coming out on highways and byways telling these nations that they're going to be put into slavery when the Messiah comes back on the earth, that they're going to have to stop shaving their beard, that they're going to have to stop smoking, that they're going to have to stop eating pork, that they're going to have to stop eating their steak with blood in it, man? You know, what is it going to cost you to forsake how this society operates? You know, is it going to cost you your freedom? Is it going to cost you your family's freedom, your wife freedom, your children's freedom, being put in some type of concentration camp? You know, or whatever that city Donald Trump was saying. You know, where they got the terrorists going at. You know, I forgot the name of that city, but you even got the president, the wicked, nasty Donald Trump talking about, you know, if you speaking against the Jewish people, if you're going into anti-Semitism and speaking hatred on things, you're going to be put in a concentration camp, you know, unless you was under some rock, you didn't understand and hear that, or if this is news to you. You know, what is that going to cost you? You know, verse 29, Luke 14 and 29, least happily after he had laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it began to mock him, saying this man began to build and was not able to finish it. So it ain't gonna do you no good breaking down the scriptures and call yourself doing breakdowns and call yourself a mighty man, call yourself a prophet if you're not going to finish the work of the Lord. If you're just going to go back into the world, start hiding, and then you put your talent into the ground, you got to finish. You got to endure, Let me get this real quick in Proverbs chapter 24. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 24. It ain't going to do me no good keep doing these videos and then I just go back into the world. And then I just fall away. I got to endure myself. This is Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 27, and it reads, prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house. So what you mean prepare your work without? It means order your work. You got to order these things rightfully when you striving to be a man of the Most High. Knowing you an Israelite, coming back to your heritage, repenting, putting off that old man and that old woman. You got to order things right. That's what it's saying. Let me read this one more time. Proverbs 24 and 27. Prepare thy work without, as it says in 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. Let me get that real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and 40. You can't just say you're an Israelite, and then when persecution comes, you running and you hiding, you denouncing the Lord. When it's all cool and calm and when the daylight is out, you telling people they're going into slavery, you shaking the hand, you doing the work, you keeping the feast days, the high holy days. But when all hell breaks loose, when you hated of all nations, then you know where to be found. You don't have no fringes on, but if we understand that you may be in the FEMA camp, which you ain't gonna be able to have on what you really want to have on when you're thrown in some type of concentration camp. You understand that? We're not saying be over righteous, but we're saying when you have as long as you have the ability, to either follow the Lord or to even denounce or even to denounce the Lord, you got to continue to follow the Lord. Don't hide and put off to save yourself, because the Lord said, therefore, whoever saved their life shall lose it. And whoever lose their life shall receive everlasting life, roughly paraphrase. So this is 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. So that's what it's talking about in Proverbs 24 and 27. Proverbs 24 and 27, it says, prepare thy work without. Order your works before the Lord in a righteous order. Get yourself built up. Get your household built up. Come out here and win souls for the Most High God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And do all things for the elect's sake. Let me read that real quick in 2 Timothy. I might not be able to pull as many precepts that I want to get into, but Lord willing, we'll keep the topic edifying. This is 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 10, and it reads, 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 10, therefore I endure all things for the elect's sakes, that they may also obtain the salvation. So you enduring if your life is being put in jeopardy to come out here and keep doing the work, whether somebody say they're gonna lock you up or whether an agent is coming up trying to bring all type of accounts so he can figure out how he can get you and your congregation knocked off. You enduring all things for the elect's sake. You're not just doing this for the get views and some recognition. You're doing this for the elect's sake. You trying to get the elect sealed. 2 Timothy 2 and 10. Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sakes, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in Hamashiach Christ, Yahweh Shah, with eternal glory. So that should be the goal. That should be on our minds. That should be keeping us on fire, burning in these last days. Let me get this Mark chapter 4 real quick. Because everybody, is, somewhat flourishing, but in the end, we still gotta be flourishing and endure. Now, this is Mark chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at verse 16. I'm gonna start at verse 15. Mark 4 and 15, because you can't just say you're an Israelite when all hell is not breaking loose. You can't just keep the commandments when all hell is not breaking loose, and then all of a sudden, when all hell is breaking loose, then you know you're acting like you know you acting like it's okay to go against the grain. It's not okay to go against the grain. You got to stick to the task at hand. Mark chapter 4:15. And these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. So a lot of people have received the word with gladness when they found out that these other nations got to go into slavery. You know, when the kingdom is established, when they found out their heritage. You know, verse 17, Mark 4:17, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time, and afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. You know, and the Lord said, blessed are those who aren't offended of me. You know, so when persecution arises, when you're being hated of all nations, you know, you gotta withstand all of these things and continue to endure and to not be tossed to and fro. You know. So verse 18, Mark 4:18. And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word. So what you can't be sown among thorns, because the Lord said in the end you shall know who my chosen is. You know, when the Lord beams them up in the chariots, when the Lord grants them salvation, you know, it said then they will know who my chosen is. You know. Now it says, for Mark 4:18 one more time. And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lusts of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becoming unfruitful. Now you don't forgot you as an Israelite. You know, now you don't forgot all of the prayers and the fastings and all the laboring you done, because persecution has arose, you know, and now your back is against the wall. That's why we got to continue to pray and ask the Lord to increase our faith, you know, and very well, you know, when you come before the Lord, you're going to go through the same thing he went through. That's why it's important for us to count the cost and endure in these last days. Now, this is Matthew chapter 20 and verse 20, because we're going to go through the same thing that the Lord went through. Matthew chapter 20 and verse 20, and it reads, it says, now this is speaking on the mother that's requesting of her sons to sit on the throne that the Lord was sitting on. Matthew 20 and 20, and it reads, then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him and desiring a certain thing of him. And he said unto her, what wilt thou? She said unto him, grant that these my two sons may sit, the one on the right hand and the other on the left, in thy kingdom. So she said, I want my sons to sit on the right hand and on your left in your kingdom. You know, she was wanting her sons to be in the glory of the Lord. A lot of people, they want to be in the glory of the Lord, but they don't understand what it's going to cost them. They don't understand or try to even study or to put their mind into perspective what it's going to take, what we're going to have to lose and give up in order to be able to receive this, you know. Verse 22, Matthew 20 and 22. But Yahushua answered and said, ye know not what ye ask. So he said, you don't know what you asking for, woman. Are ye able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They say unto him, we are able. So he said, hey, are you able to go through what I went through and what I'm about to go through? Are you ready, and are you able to be hated by all? You know, to be whipped, scourged, and bruised. You know, to have your reputation, you know, made damage in the eyes of men, in the eyes of the society. And they said, we are able, you know. Verse 23, and he said, Matthew 20 and 23, and he said unto them, ye shall drink indeed of my cup, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with. but to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Father. So he said my Father, hey, he's going to have to do that, you know. And when you read in John, the Messiah spoke of, he said he has not lost his elect, you know, whom the Lord has given him. Verse 24. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the two brethren. So this is going into having to deal with affliction, having to deal with tribulation. Because when you, let me get this real quick. Matthew chapter 3 and verse 11. Because being tested and tried by the Lord, you know, for one, that is to glorify the Lord, and that is to make known, you know, for us that, hey, this is the Lord's anointing. Hey, we know that Isaiah and all the things he went through, you know, that he was a mighty man of the Lord. And King David and Jeremiah and Amos, you know, and mighty men that went through hell and high water for the Messiah, for Yahweh. Now this is Matthew chapter 3 and verse 11, and it reads, Matthew chapter 3 and verse 11, this is going into being baptized with the baptism that the Lord is going to baptize us with, not with the baptism of John. Matthew chapter 3 and verse 11, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. And what's that fire? That fire is going through hell, you know. Let me get this in 1 Peter real quick. 1 Peter chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 12. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 12, and it reads, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Hamashiach's, Christ's suffering. So you're going to have to suffer. You know, that's the fire that you're going to be baptized with. You know, and can you endure that fire? Can you endure those flames? You know, because the Lord said he's with us even until the end. You know, like he says in Matthew 28 and 20. You know, so 1 Peter 4 and 13, but rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers in Hamashiach Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. You see that? Now let me get this in Acts chapter 14 before we move on. Acts chapter 14 and verse 22. This is the book of Acts chapter 14. I'm going to start at verse 22, and it reads, it says, confirming the souls. Hey, because Paul got stoned and they left him for dead too. He had to go through hell for the Lord. That's why when you read, it said the prisoner of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Paul, he was captive. You know, he couldn't run away from the Lord's calling. He couldn't run away from doing the work of the Lord. He couldn't run away from bearing the name of the Lord. Because like the Lord told him in Acts chapter 9, when you read Acts chapter 9, you know, hey, Paul, he was once stoning the church, killing the church, persecuting the church. But the Lord reserved him to bear the suffering of all that he's going to have to go through for the name of the Lord. Now, this is Acts 14 and 22 again. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we, talking about the Israelites, so-called Black, Spanish, and Native Americans, those that repent, those that's coming back to the knowledge and the wisdom of the Lord. Just because you repent, don't think you got to have it easy. Don't think it's going to be good for you and gravy and peaches and cream. Don't think you're going to have an easy walk into the kingdom of heaven. You're going to have to go through hell and high water. You know, your family going to come against you. You know, you're going to have days when you ain't got nothing. You ain't got no money. You know, you stuck out there. You lonely. You abandoned. You know. Hey, the men of the Lord went through this. Don't think some strange thing has happened to you just because you're going to be hated by all nations. Now it says, Acts 14 and 22, concerning the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. So you got to continue in the faith when you hated by all nations, when you're a pilgrim on the earth, when you're trying to make moves, when you're trying to hire for succor, you know, when you're trying to make sure you're not being put to death, you know. You may have to go to another city. You may have to be on the run. You may have to make moves. You may have to remove yourself from your wife and your children, you know, or if you're a woman, you may have to remove yourself from your husband and your children, or whatever the case may be. However, the Lord got your lot to play out on this earth, you know, because everybody's judgment might be different, you know. Acts 14:22 one more time. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of Most High God. So this ain't gonna be no easy walk getting to the kingdom of heaven. Being ruler over 10 cities, you know, having the world given to you. The Lord ain't just gonna give you the kingdom after he done got his back whipped, got smoke in his face, had thorns put in his scalp and in his skull, blood running down his face, sweat and blood, you know, being hated by all nations. The Lord ain't just gonna give us the kingdom and go through all that. We gotta go through it too, you know. Now let me get this in Acts 12. You know, the apostles, they had to go through it too. Paul went through it. Peter went through it. John went through it. You know, they was hated as well. They was hated by all nations. Now this is Acts 12, and I'm gonna start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 2. I'm gonna start at verse 1. Acts chapter 12 and verse 1, and it reads: Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church. Now these Caucasians, they're gonna be persecuting Israelites, man. They're gonna be on a move. They may set up some type of affiliated agents to just go out and see who's holding camp. You know, they may just go out and look for Israelites that got fringes on. They got mitris on. You know, they may just go out and look for sisters that got dresses on with fringes on them. You know, they even got children with fringes on them. You know. Hey, the same way Herod was vexing the church, best believe those days is coming back on the earth. That's why we got to tell you end time. That's why we got to tell you end times warnings. We're warning you to get yourself right. Stop being feeble-needed and lukewarm and comfortable in this society and get your spirit right, man. Because this ain't nothing to play with. Most High ain't nothing to play with. This ain't you. Hey, you can't just say you're an Israelite and just say you're an Israelite to try to get you multiple women. To try to rule over a woman, to try to get you, you know, some type of accolade so you can tell a brother what to do. Hey, brother, give me this book. Hey, brother, do this. Brother, go over here and do this. So you can be somewhat in charge. You gotta prepare yourself for what's coming. You know, these prophecies are gonna come, and nobody can overthrow them and stop these prophecies from coming to pass, man. You know, so it says, Acts chapter 12, verse 1. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. So you may get killed, you know, in these last days for saying you're an Israelite, for telling these heathens that they're going to go into slavery, you know, and we're going to rule rigor over them. You may get killed, man. You know, your wife and children may be out there by themselves, with no head, with no covering, you know, or they may even kill your wife. They may kill me. They may kill my wife and children. These things are going to happen because this was prophesied of old, you know, and we know it says like it says in Luke, it says not everybody going to die, you know, like it says in, I believe it's Luke 9 and 27, you know, it's going to be some that aren't going to die, you know. So everybody's not going to be martyrs, you know. Everybody's not going to get put to death for the word. There's still going to be some people left here. But like it says, Acts chapter 2 and verse 2. So like Acts chapter 12 and verse 2. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread, which is coming in you know, about 6 to 7, 8 weeks, you know, Passover. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison. So you may get put in prison as well, you know, and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter, which in the Greek word is Pesach. You know, it's another way of saying Passover, you know, which is Pesach, which means Passover, to bring him forth to the people, you know. So hey, he got put in prison, man. You know, let me get this in Acts chapter 5. Got to move a little bit more quicker because got to go to camp. Got to move a little bit more faster according to these precepts. Now this is Acts chapter 5, and I'm gonna start at verse 40. Now this is the apostles being beat, you know, and hated by all nations. Acts chapter 5 and verse 40, and it reads, "And to him they agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahweh Shah, and let them go. And they departed from the presence of the council." So you may get brought before councils, leaders, and governing bodies, you know, to say you can't teach that truth anymore. You can't teach the people that we're gonna go into slavery. You may get put in the forefront and get beaten and brought before the councils, like the apostles did. And they departed, Acts 5 and 41, and they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. You see that? But did they stop? Let's read on to see if they stopped. Acts chapter 5 and verse 42. "And daily in the temple and in every house they ceased not to teach and preach Yahweh Shah HaMashiach." So they kept doing the work, regardless if their life was in jeopardy or not. They kept doing the work. They said, we don't care what they do to us or what they threaten to do to us. We're going to continue to lift up the name of Yahweh B'Shem Shah. Now I want to get this in Acts chapter 4 about Peter and John being arrested. Now this is Acts chapter 4 verse 1, and it reads, "And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the certain Salaki." Acts 4 and 1. "And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them, being grieved that they taught the people and preached through Yahweh Shah the resurrection from the dead. And they laid hands on them, Salaki, and put them in hold until the next day, for it was now eventide. Howbeit many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men was about 5,000. So they was bringing forth souls into the truth, you know. Now I want to jump down to verse 18. Acts 4 and 18, and it reads, "And they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Yahweh Shah." So they was overthrowing these heathens society, you know. And so in these last days, when you're hated of all nations, they're going to try to find some type of way to prevent people from coming to the truth, from prevent people from hearing about the truth, which was certain doctrines was taken away and false doctrines was put on the forefront so people wouldn't understand. And so people wouldn't come to the truth, but they would believe on false gods. But hey, the Lord is going to have it where you're going to hear and understand the truth. You know, that's why it says in Matthew 24:14, "This gospel shall be preached in all the world to a witness unto these nations." Wherever the Israelites are, that's where the truth got to be put in front, so the souls can be brought back to the Most High, so the end can come. Acts 4 and 19, and it reads, "But Peter and John answered and said unto them, Whether it be right in the sight of God Most High to hearken unto you more than unto the Most High God, judge ye. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding nothing how they might punish them because of the people. For all men glorify Most High God for that which was done." So they gonna glorify the Lord, regardless if their life is threatening or not. Because they said, hey, we're gonna glorify the Lord and we're gonna bring souls to the Most High God, Yahweh B'Shem Shah. And we don't care what people gotta say or do. You know, we don't care who hate us, you know, and that's the spirit that we gotta have, you know, leading up to these prophecies that are gonna come to pass, you know. Now I want to get this in 2 Maccabees. Now one of our forefathers, hey, he was forced swine in his mouth, but hey, he spit it out. You know, they're gonna be trying to do all type of things to the Israelites in these last days. They're gonna show forth their hatred in a real wicked way in these last days. You know. So this is 2 Maccabees. Let me see. This is Second Maccabees and the Apocrypha. Like we always encourage, if you don't have Apocrypha, you know, you kind of gotta go get you one. The 16:11. Now this is Second Maccabees chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at verse 18, and it reads: Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came of his own according to the torment. So he said, hey, look, I'd rather die than to break the commandments and the law of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You know, I'd rather die than to have to live with bringing forth a known abomination to my nation. You know, so our forefathers, they was ready to die, you know, than to give into the decree of the heathens. You know, so hey, ain't no telling what these heathens are gonna try to do to get us to fall short in these last days. You know, because they're gonna show forth their hatred. Now let me get this in Second Esdras real quick. We're gonna wind down because we gotta go to camp through the spirit of prophet Hashem Yahushua. Now this is Second Esdras chapter 16, and I'm gonna start at verse 70, speaking about these heathens and these nations pulling all the stops out for those that fear the Lord and believe in the Lord, and those that show forth the evidence of them being a direct descendant of Jacob as an Israelite. Now this is Second Esdras 16 and 70, and it reads: For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Hey, and they did the same thing to Tobit. They spoiled Tobit. They took Tobit's goods away for him burying the Israelites. When he seen the Israelite dead in the broad daylight in the open, he buried them according to the law. You know, so Tobit had his goods taken away. You know, I might have to get there real quick. They were spoiling Tobit's goods too. Now this is Tobit. Let me see where I want to start at. Tobit. Let me find. I don't want to be all over the place. I want to get straight to it. This is Tobit, and let me see. In the Apocrypha, I'm gonna start at chapter 1 and let me find this precept right quick. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I'm gonna read this real quick. Get straight to the point. This is Tobit. I'm gonna start at verse 20. Tobit chapter 1 and verse 20, and it reads. I'm gonna start at verse 17. Tobit chapter 1 and verse 17. As we just read, in Second Esdras 16. They gonna try to take the goods of the Israelites in these last days, those that fear the Lord. Now this is Tobit 1 and 17, and it reads, and my clothes. I'm gonna start at verse 16. Tobit 1 and 16. And in the time of Enemessar, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead, or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privately. For in his wrath he killed many. And these things are gonna come back on the earth. Best believe that. Nothing is new under the sun, like it says in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. But the bodies were not found. So when these heathen was wanting to, you know, make a mockery of the dead bodies or whatever the case was, they couldn't find the bodies because Tobit already had buried them. But the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king. And when one of the Ninevites went and complained of men to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear. Then all my goods were forcibly taken away, neither was there anything left me beside my wife Anna and my son Tobias. You see that? So he had his goods taken away, you know. So let me go back to 2nd Esdras 16 real quick. 2nd Esdras chapter 16 and verse 71. 2nd Esdras 16 and 71 in the Apocrypha. And it reads, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen. So when you endure all of this, it says, then it shall be known whom the Lord's chosen is. You got many saying that they prophets now, you know, which is nothing wrong with having confidence and having faith in the Lord, but you got to endure, you know. It says, then shall they be known. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved, said the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High God is your God, your guide. You see that? Now I want to get maybe two more precepts. Now this is going back to Matthew chapter 10. Matthew chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 28, and it reads, it says, and fear not them which kill the body, because many are going to try to kill the Israelites, because they don't want an uprising to be brought forth. They don't want many to come into the truth. They want others to continue to bow down to their false gods, to their white supremacy religions. It says, and fear, Matthew 10 and 28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Meaning in condition, you know, because the Lord, he's able to afflict your flesh and take your soul away from you if you fall short and disobey the commandments, you know. So don't fear those that can kill you, you know, cut your head off or cut your arm off or throw some hot grease on you or whatever, some type of what's the word? I done lost the word. Some type of gruesome tactic they want to try to do when they put you in some type of room to question you. They may try to put a black bag on your head. They may try to suffocate you, you know. Don't fear that. Fear the Lord. Because the Lord, he can put you in the grave. He can take your soul away from you. He can have you bugged out of your mind, have you believing all type of stuff. So the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, the creator of the heavens and earth, is him. Him we have to fear. So this is Isaiah. Lord willing, this is edifying to you. Don't count this as a light thing to do. All praises, glory, honor to Yahweh in the name of his son, Yahweh Shah. This is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3, and it reads, thou would keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee. So you have to keep your mind stayed on the Lord in these last days. You know, don't keep your mind stayed on money. You know, pay your bills, work, do whatever you got to do to take care of your household, your wife and your children. Or if you're a woman, taking care of your household, you know, doing whatever you got to do to help, giving alms and charity and showing love to your nation, your brothers and sisters. But on the utmost forefront and the first priority, you got to keep your mind on the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Isaiah 26 and 4. Trust ye in the Lord Yahweh forever, for in the Lord Yahweh is everlasting strength. And having your mind on the Lord is examining yourself, forsaking your flesh, and doing all the things that we're going to have to go through. Whatever the Lord appoints our lot. Whatever we have to do according to whatever the Lord appoints our lot to go through. Peace and blessing to you. Shabbat Shalom. Quote Yahshua. All praises, glory, honor to Yahweh. By Shem Yahweh Shah. All praises, glory, honor to Yahweh. In the name of your son Yahweh Shah. Feast me of Zion. Peace and blessings to you. Shalom.